Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Vet Talks, Cougars Inc. Who do we have on our show today?
Well, hello again, and thank you for joining Vet Talks, the voice of the veteran community. And today we've got from Saved in America, we're lucky enough to have on Master Chief Kirby Harrell, and he's a former Navy SEAL. He was a court-ordered to enlist in the Navy in 1967, a BUD/S grad in 1969, taught SEAL teams 1, 3, and 5, awarded the Bronze Star with Valor, 2 of those, Purple Heart, Joint Commendation, many ribbons, a great military experience, a great military record, and it's great to have you on, Kirby, and we're proud to have you. So what do you have going on for us?
Well, thank you. Thanks very much. And I'm real honored, guys, to be on Vet Talks. I do everything I possibly can for the veterans and try to keep the veterans inspired and keep us all moving forward because we're a huge piece of America. And all of us are totally supportive of everything our military is doing today in America to keep our country safe and sound for all of our dependents. And that's just something that we grew up believing. We feel that way, and nobody's going to take that away from us. I could go into my story, which is probably a whole lot like a lot of other guys' stories. I was a farm boy that was raised in Missouri. I got a job. We moved to the big city of St. Louis, and I started working at a place called County Speed Shop, building hot rods, which is a big part of my life today. So I love hot rods, but they also got me in trouble, but I think probably in trouble in a good way because I got stopped one too many times by the law enforcement people and asked by the judge. Well, not really asked, but he had some ways of persuading me to make the right decision. So that's kind of how I found my way in the U.S. Navy. He gave me some options, and I said, I think I'm going to take that Navy option. Sounds pretty good to me, Your Honor.
Exactly. Yes.
So off I was. In those days, you didn't have to wait to join the Navy because all we knew was Vietnam. So I went in and got my physical and got on an airplane the next day, flew out of a snowstorm in Missouri to sunny Southern California. As soon as I got off the plane, I went, I'm never going home. I'm staying right here, and I'm not moving. So
He meant it.
That kind of promoted my course in the Navy. When in the 60s, you had to go do a Westpac cruise before you could join SEAL team or join BUD/S to do your training. So it was something that I had to do. I did my first Westpac cruise over to the Philippines and stuff, and took my exam basically to join BUD/S and become a student. And then by the time the ship got back to San Diego, I was ready to go to BUD/S and do the best I possibly could. And God willing, I made it through. And then on went my career as a Navy SEAL. I was one of the guys that got pushed to SEAL Team 1 in 1969. Training was quick and fast before we departed for Vietnam. And then I went to Vietnam in Foxtrot Platoon. I was a point man in Foxtrot Platoon. We did over 100 operations in Vietnam. Came back, I think probably because I was still alive, they put me in training cells so I could train the rest of the young guys that were going to be point men for SEAL team. And
that would be good. You survived. Of course, that would be good for them to know.
I think I survived because I was short. A lot of the tall guys got shot. I don't know why.
Being tall, the first thing I saw working with operators is getting really low, no target. I mean, like ballerinas almost. Yeah. I got to work with Rudy Bosch. He just passed away. But Rudy, of course, I was lucky to work with him on his show, Combat Missions. You probably know Rudy. But go ahead. It's a great story.
Wonderful guy, man. Rudy Bosch was a total inspiration to all of us.
Yes,
he was one hell of a team member. We all loved him, and can't say enough about the man. Really was the guy to look up to in SEAL team. you
I'm
know,
glad I had
and,
time with him. I could spend time with him. I was so
yeah,
lucky.
which is fantastic. So
Mhm.
off I went. I got back and I got back into um, the training departments, and I stuck with the training departments until I got off of active duty in '75, and then we started SEAL Team Reserve units here on the West Coast and on the East Coast. And I was in the reserve unit from '75 to '90. And in '90, I got called back to active duty for Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Had a wonderful career while I was out. Um, got called back, and I mean, it was kind of exciting because after being behind a desk, and all of a sudden you get to come back and start blowing up things and shooting things again.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, some action. Yeah,
for,
I know,
for, an,
adrenaline junkie. Yeah, we are
for, an old,
nuts.
for an old
Yeah.
guy, it was like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah,
Fun
it was.
times, fun times.
It's just as you get older, you thought you were faster when you were young, but reality sets in. But
Trust me, I understand.
yeah, that's why they invented cell phones so we could call cabs.
Yeah, brains
Hey,
over brawn.
that's right. That's exactly right. So it was all that was a wonderful career, and then I shot back right into SEAL Team 3 and went right back to work, Desert Storm, and did that until '95, and then in '95 I got shipped off to Europe because we were kind of expanding, going into the European theater. So, Africa was a big thing then. The old Soviet Union was kind of pumping up and stuff. So,
I saw 12 embassies from Africa to Russia.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So what they did was they put us on the um, ESAT teams, and we would go in and we would survey embassies,
Mhm.
for potential hazards and potential evacuations and stuff, and we built the packages for those. So that was a wonderful career. Really got to go to a lot of what do I want to say, less than nice places. We used to call them
Exactly.
shitholes, but
Yeah.
so we've
Are they any better now?
no, they're not. I can tell you. So the thing was that was kind of good, and then because I was in that position, it also gave me the access to being on NEOs when we got called in to go in and to rescue the people in Africa and the old Soviet Union when embassies were being under attack, kind of like the Beirut one just was. And so we had a couple of those missions, very successful, got a lot of people out, rescued a lot of people, and kind of built the format for how those things are conducted today. So it was a very interesting time.
Let me ask you a quick question there, Master Chief. Here's a
Sure,
great
sure.
question from the audience. How, as you know, in the news, people realize that things happen like the Soleimani in Iran and stuff. And though that happened recently, maybe you could shed some light on how long Soleimani and some of the problems in Iran and the Middle East have been a problem that you know of. And whether good or bad, that was a good or bad decision. That's okay. Your input on all of that.
Yeah, I just, I mean, you look at those things and that we've been dealing with this for decades, right? And so
Right.
that's the whole thing.
I know that.
And finally, and kind of everybody, you got to look at it like, and I look at it like the immigration thing. If people can kick the can down the road and not make a solid decision, um, they're going to kick the can down the road, because there's too much. What if I do something wrong and I get blamed? That's the problem, right?
Yeah, the liabilities put a Band-Aid on it. It's not my problem today. My job. My job.
Yeah. Well, and then they push the can down the road, right? So then the next person comes in the office, he's got the same issues as the one who was in the office. So I just think that and our military, thank the good Lord, is not like that. We are people that make decisions and continue on down the road with the decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. We
For
made this,
decades.
and off we go with it, right?
Right.
So That's the problem. And and there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. But the problem we've had in the Middle East, I mean, guys, we've been over there for almost 18 years now, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, the decision hasn't been made until of late that we're going to end this thing, right? And the
Right.
latest I heard was they're voting to get us out of Iraq. And you know what? If they want us to leave, then we'll leave. You know, or that's Kirby.
I just hope we don't hurt their feelings. Well, I just hope we don't hurt their feelings. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing. I mean, that's the military is what when it says it's going to do something. There's it's all kinds of stuff. I mean, our political thing is not perfect, so we have to deal with that imperfectness of it. But the thing that and so that's kind of my 2 cents on it. I mean, I wish there was if it was a military run response, then it will be completely different than the way that it's pushed out by the politicians. But at least we've made the call, right, wrong, or indifferent. We made the call. Now let's see what happens.
Yep.
That's kind of where I'm at, and that pushes us ahead to the thing that I kind of want to cover today, because it kind of just segues into it. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in our country that we need to address, and one of the big issues that I got into after I retired from the military was this child trafficking thing. And I had no idea. I've saved thousands of people over my career in the military. And then when I got out, I read a white paper by one of the PhD professors here at one of the universities about human trafficking and of American kids in America. And it was devastating to me, devastating that this kind of thing was happening and the fiber of America was being torn apart because of this child trafficking. I mean, 14-year-old girls are going. We have recruiters in middle schools that are trying to get these kids and move them into the sexual trade and everything else. And I said, we have to do something to stop it. And there's no better person than veterans to make this happen. So
and let's ask you this, Kirby, where can you highlight the states that are the biggest problem?
Well, the states with the biggest problems are the drug corridors where they come into our country. I mean, that's where it starts. It's not bringing in foreign girls and foreign teenagers to it. It's that the drug corridors and the drug cartels and the gangs are recruiting our young children to get into sex trafficking and get into the sex trade.
So California would be one of the biggest states on the list.
Oh yes. Yes, it is. And so that's the whole thing. And they're going about it in a very unbelievable way that it's allowing the recruiters to go to middle schools, and they're recruiting out of middle schools. They recruit in so many different ways with inside organizations, inside county and state organizations. They're recruiting these girls when they find somebody that's got a little bit of a personality problem or has problems at home or something like that. And the pimps are always trying to recruit them and bring them into the thing. It's a heinous crime in America. And I never thought that it would have gotten not only the popularity, but the number of children involved in it. Once we've been involved in it now since 2014. I mean, we've rescued over 200 kids, but there are so many kids out there that are at risk, and that is the problem. And that's the reason why I reach out to veterans organizations and veteran talk things like yourself, is because I need people to go to our website, savedinamerica.org, and look at that. I'm looking for volunteers to help us all over the country. We have places in a number of cities all over the country that we're doing good work in. But I need qualified special operations guys, people that have special talents that can support us go to the website, and certainly you can go to the website and donate, because we're a philanthropic organization. All of us are volunteers. The only reason we have, when we're out rescuing a gal, then we will take a small denomination of money to pay for hotels, food, car rentals, all those kind of things. But everybody,
Kirby, what's the website again?
SavedInAmerica.org, O-R-G.
SavedInAmerica.org. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirby Harrell, former Navy SEAL, 47 years of service to our nation, is now saving girls here in America. You know, it's great. I'm from Israel, and I appreciate everybody who wants to go overseas and keep Israel safe, but I got news for you. We're good. Thanks. Let's start here and act local, and let's start helping here local. SavedInAmerica.org. Kirby, people can donate. Let's make sure we get some highlights there. They can donate to SaveInAmerica.org. The funding will go directly to helping families that need their daughters saved. So when somebody makes a call, Kirby has resources and teams able to be deployed. As well, those of you who would like to staff up and join and help make teams, as well as make nationwide, right? You need some nationwide organizations.
I was thinking even logistics, support, anything that could bring, because I was seeing
help with providing that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will create a platform at Vet Talks. At Vet Talks, you can find us at the Vet Talks Facebook page. We will definitely set up a thing for Kirby there for those of you who want to volunteer to sign up. Now, Kirby, are any of the staff paid that are going out to do this?
No, we're all volunteer.
All volunteer. And of course, that is because the funding is coming in as you can get it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if we could get this fully up and funded, we could actually staff some veterans and get them employed, it sounds like.
Doton, so the logistics, it's about $6,200 to save a child in the same state. Out of state, it doubles if the child's out of state. There must be a golden time to help save the child, right, Kirby?
Absolutely. We try to do it within 48 hours if we can.
Okay.
That's why we have to have parents come to us. The parents have to come to us and have to ask us for help. We have to get the attorney from them because we're dealing in most cases with minor children.
Right.
So we have to have the parents' protection and coverage.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And that's why Hollywood veterans and the media is very important. And I know the media is not supporting this in our country. And that's why I want to get this out there for you.
It's a thing to bring up. Now, Kirby, let's also bring up let me ask a few questions then. What can parents do? Because we all know what it's like to have a difficult child to raise. What can parents do? What can parents do to both help protect their children? And what can young adults do to maybe be aware of these early signs? And how in the world are they getting into our middle schools?
Well, this is let me back up and we'll start from the beginning of those questions. You know, the thing with parents is that parents there's so many things that parents are required to do these days. And awareness is probably the first thing. I mean, if a child comes home and is starting to have a lot of expensive gifts or things that they shouldn't have, parents should be on the lookout for that right away. At schools, you know, the kids, as long as they have friends and everything else, everybody needs to be aware that these traffickers have recruiters in their schools, and with girls, with guys, it happens to both. They need to make sure that they have friends with them, that their friends are talking about human trafficking and about, you know, recruiters in their schools. So when this flares up, they immediately send up red flags and they know that something is going on. They can go to their teachers, they can go to their principals, they can go to law enforcement and let them know that this is happening. It doesn't just happen in a dark room somewhere. It's happening out there in the public. So make sure that everybody, and just educating the kids about these kind of things happening is like unbelievable. It does so much good. The other thing is I think with getting it out in the news media, talking about it, making people aware of it, is probably one of the most important things we can do. I always reach back to the grandparents and I ask the grandparents for help because nothing is going to get by a grandmother or a grandpa, especially when it comes to their grandkids. They know more than most parents do about what's going on with their kids. And the kids normally will talk to the grandparents because they feel, you know, they feel safer talking to the grandparents because it's not like talking to parents. So if that happens, you know, make sure that you get the right education. There's all kinds of NGO um, organizations out there that are willing to help children with this type of events. We have our own little niche because we're the only organization that actually physically goes on the ground and tries to and recovers these girls or gets these girls back to their parents and returns them. And that's kind of why we do it. And that's why we are a volunteer force.
Proud of you and everyone else there. And we're here for you, the show. We'd like to you come back on and maybe showcase what's going on or success stories here and there or anything like that you want to share. And I know a lot of it's private and classified, and that's good too.
Kirby Harrell, folks. Kirby Harrell, ladies and gentlemen, SavedInAmerica.org. We will definitely have him back on. His team there here in California is helping to save girls who have been kidnapped and boys who have been kidnapped. And you can help learn how to both keep your child safe. You can learn where you can donate, SavedInAmerica.org. And for those of you out there, the operators out there in the community that are listening, where you can sign up and help participate. We will be putting this out to the Vet Talks community. We will make sure there are updates to the Vet Talk community. Folks, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
No, we've been over in Las Vegas working with the Las Vegas police over there. We've recovered one girl so far. We're going over to do it again. There will be a fundraiser for some philanthropic people over in Las Vegas in April, on April 6th, I believe it is.
Okay.
We've also got moving in Austin, Texas. They have asked us to come down there. Atlanta, Georgia, they've asked us to come down there. Tampa, Florida, they've asked us to come down there. So all these volunteers that we're talking about are people that we need to get to the website and to have people go in and sponsor as much as they can afford so that we can get to all these different locations. You know, and if there's companies out there in those cities that want to sponsor us, by all means, please get in touch with us and let us know how. We'll let you know how you can help us and vice versa.
Great point.
Those
great
are
point, Kirby. Yeah, because there's a lot of corporate funding. They just don't know the channels and how to get the money to where it needs to go to facilitate that. Because there's bad guys inside the organizations that usually do that. So with us, the show Vet Talks, we've had the Streets to Service, a program we're doing for homeless vets and first responders. But if we get some funding, we're going to get funding, and corporate funding's coming. So of course we're going to help you out with that. You know?
Absolutely, and we can work together on it. You know, as all vets do. All vets work together. You know, I help with other organizations here in San Diego, and that's wonderful. Saved in America has just kind of taken over all my extra time, my white space, so we put it now, and so that's
well, we're very happy to be working. Here's a couple of wrap-in points. Two things that I thought of. One is Vegas in SHOT Show. There's a Harley-Davidson fundraiser, but as well through the Special Operations Charity Network, they're going to be at SHOT Show in January in Vegas.
I'll be there.
If you're going to be there, we will link you up with the people from Special Operations Charity Network and have you get linked in with everything going on in Vegas. And as well, here locally in San Diego, the Veterans Chambers of Commerce San Diego, Joseph Molina has stepped up. We have a memorandum of understanding Vet Talk does with Joseph to provide the programs that you're talking about right now with the access to get the funding. So what we're going to be able to do is when this episode goes to air, we will put SavedInAmerica.org with Kirby Harrell out to the public, but we will also link it into those programs. And in 2020, ladies and gentlemen, you will have a choice of where your funding and your donation dollars go. And we will be highlighting veterans like Kirby Harrell here on Vet Talks. we will be highlighting savedinamerica.org on the Vet Talks Facebook page, where we will make sure to include you in our topics, is what Cougar Zank was saying, in our topics for homeless and housing and streets to service. Folks, get the words out, savedinamerica.org. Now, real quick, before we go, Kirby, let's get those cities again that you could use some satellite locations and people to step up in. I heard Atlanta. I heard Miami.
And Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Phoenix, Scottsdale.
Okay.
And Las Vegas.
All right, gentlemen, if you're out in one of those cities and you're in one of our Veterans Making a Difference programs, or you want to get involved in one of the Veterans Making a Difference programs, you want to get involved in savedinamerica.org and join here, Kirby and their team of operators, reach out. Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. Go ahead, Kirby.
I don't want to forget New York City. We're working with with law enforcement in New York City also.
Definitely a huge swamp there. No problem.
Yep,
we can understand.
Yep.
All right,
So
ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Vet Talks. Vet Talks, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.